Morning, Jim. Can you hear me?
Morning. Yeah, I can hear you, Bastian. Thank you for getting on early. I appreciate it. I completely forgot about the time difference when
Oh, no, you're fine.
I
No
just
worries. All good. Usually, well, I'm used to taking like 6, 7 o'clock meetings because most of my team is actually on the East Coast, so not unusual for me.
good to know. So let's see, we've got Michael, do you know, is Davi gonna get on?
Should be. We were just emailing back and forth.
Okay, all right, good. I'll wait for him. Morning, Trevor. Morning,
How are
Michael.
you?
Come on.
So what I was thinking, I can just walk you all through the underwriting real quick, just so you get, so to ground everybody, and then we can maybe discuss next steps and just thoughts in general.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan. I've got should have screen sharing turned on, Bastian.
Okay.
So, Davi, did you or Michael, have either one of you underwrote this property also?
Yes, we both have.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
And I
So,
believe Annie has as well. I'm not sure. She said she was going to join, but I don't know.
okay, well, we will, I've got it recording, so, because Carrie, I wanted Carrie on the call for the additional net worth that we may need on this. But anyway, he's on a plane to Cabo, so I don't think he's going to be able to make it. He's at the airport. So there's Annie coming in right now. So if we don't have, well, let's just let Bastian go over his underwriting.
Yeah.
And then, you know, we can at least all try to evaluate that and poke as many holes in it as we can and see where this is going. So go ahead, Bastian, it's all yours.
Okay. So first of all, I'm going to show the underwriting assuming a loan assumption. So I ran the scenario with the yield maintenance, and it's a $1.6 million hit, which, I mean, the numbers are not penciling out, at least not for me. So it comes out to like 8 IIR or so. But you can, you know, revisit that if you feel we want to. So anyway, so this here is loan assumption. I'm gonna go through as quickly as I can, and then please interrupt me with questions or concerns as I go along. All right, just I guess the key items here to point out. So it's a 1965 property, so definitely older. For this underwriting, and I'm assuming a $6.2 million purchase price, and I built in a 1% loan assumption fee, so the 45K in there.
So that is the whisper price, Bastian?
Yeah, 6.2
Okay.
whisper, and then the 45K is just a loan assumption.
Gotcha.
Comes out to about 85 a door, which I think is pretty reasonable for the market based on what I saw. I mean, I was digging through a CoStar report, so you know, but I'm open to, you know, other opinions.
Yeah. And just so you know, when I spoke to the broker, he said, as long as your offer has a 6 in front of it, it will be considered. They know it's challenging to assume, you know, a 5 point whatever loan.
So do we know specifically what the loan assumption amount is?
So it's 4.5 million. So they just run out of IO. So I think they have IO for another 6 months before the amortization kicks in.
Oh, yeah, August 1st is the first principal payment due. So it's been 4.5 million exactly for over 2 years.
Okay.
Basically 2 years.
Gotcha.
And I think the interest rate is higher than you had there. It was
5.19. Yeah, I have both. So I break it out between the index and then the spread.
Yeah, and I don't think we'll get 6 months IO because by the time you buy it, you know, it's going to be June at the earliest.
Yeah, we might as well really look at this as if there's no IO.
Right. All right. So I will get there. I will get there. So let's just move in the order here. So I'm assuming an acquisition fee, closing costs I'm going to talk in a second. So working capital, I put in 4 months of OPEX just to have something in there. What else? So I have some rehab budget or construction budget, which I'm going to show you in a moment. So market cap, I'm using 5.1%. So I took that out of the CoStar. I think sounds reasonable. After a 5-year hold, it gets us to 5.6 exit cap. But I was thinking if we may want to increase that a bit, because after 5 years, we're going to be in the same situation that the seller is right now, where there's a loan assumption on that. And if we want to break it as a yield maintenance, so it may make sense just to increase that just to give us some cushion. I don't know if you can get the maximum
unless the prepayment penalty goes away, which I have so far been completely unable to find out. The broker, all he keeps sending me is this same document that doesn't tell anything about the prepayment penalty.
What is
Usually
the
those
document that he's sending, Michael?
What's that?
What document is he sending?
Well, it's just called it's just a document that they created out of what is obviously a larger document, and they called it loan agreement summary. It's just what's in the what's on their website, the broker's website. It's 5 pages of stuff about the loan, but it doesn't say anything about, well, the prepayment penalty is $1.5 million. I'm just taking the guy's word for it.
Okay.
And it doesn't say the prepayment penalty will start to go down on this date, and that kind of thing.
I mean, technically, it can be calculated because all prepayment penalties is the present value of all the future payments. So I mean, so I did the math and I come out to 1.6 million. So I mean, we can technically do the same thing, assuming 5 years from now, what it would be. So it's possible to do the math, and it's probably going to be significantly less because I think it's a 12-year loan. And then 5 years from now, there's probably like 4 or 5 years left. So it's going to be lower. So we can do the math and factor that in.
It is a 12-year loan, started in August of 2018.
Yeah. So anyways, we can play with the numbers, but just want to show you how it shakes out the way I have it.
Go ahead, Bastian.
So right now I have a project IRR of about 16.5. So I'm breaking out IRR between project IRR, so purely what the property is producing, as opposed to the LP share. So the LP IRR is about 14% right now. But we can get there in a moment. About the 2 multiple, cash on cash is a little low on this property, on average 4.5. But I underwrote it very conservatively, so I think we can pull some levers there. Average annual is about 21%. So here are the loan terms, the 4.5. I have 6 IO. I can just change it to 3. It's not making a big impact, but let's roll with that for now. So we can ignore all this stuff here. So I underwrote it as a preferred return with 8%. But we can play around. We can also, if you want, we can build in some hurdles. But I guess that's for later. Let's see what else is worth noting here. This is just repeating everything. So again, here that's the LP share, the LP, I guess, performance, IRR 14%, 1.9 multiple, and then average return 17 gets us to a GP promote of shy of 500K. All right, I'm just going to move on. Just stop me if there are questions or anything that jumps out. So for the acquisition costs, so talking to Julie, the advantage of the loan assumption is we don't need to provide any COVID reserves. So what I did here for the P&I, the escrowed reserves for P&I, I just assumed 6 months as opposed to 12 months with COVID. So I brought that down a bit. And then just the taxes and then your insurance for 12 months. I think everything else is pretty standard here. I'm not gonna fudge too much with these numbers. Okay, so now revenue, and more so rents. So just to orient everybody, so on the left side, I have rents currently in place. And then on the right here, that's what rents would be in a stabilized setup. So I took those straight from the rental. So those are the average rents for all these different units. So in total, we have about 74. So I'm not sure. Sometimes I see 75 units. Sometimes I see 74 units. I have 74 for right now.
I think this.
Are you
I think they have one studio that's the 75.
Okay.
Bastian, are you using stabilized rents from the OM or from the existing rent roll?
So neither.
Okay.
So what I have here, and I'm going to get that, Jim. I'm not ignoring your question. I'm just
Go
going to
ahead.
go
I'll
in sequence
roll
here real
with it.
quick. So I have what I have here, current max. So those are the rents for units that are currently rented at max price. So what that means is this one bed, 575 square feet. There's one unit in there that currently rents for 900, and so on. So those are all the max rents that we're currently achieving with like one or two of the units. What I don't know if these units are month to month or not. So that's not something that needs to be, researched. They could be higher because they're month to month. I don't know that. I can't tell based on the rental, but essentially that's what we could achieve right now, and it's proven because units are rented at that price.
Gotcha.
Over here, these are the rents that I took out of the OM. That's the broker suggested. I'm actually somewhat agreeing with those. So those are not too far off, and I think they're achievable. But what I essentially used the mix between what's currently in place versus what I did my own research on apartments.com, what I see there, and sort of what the OM provides. So, if you just want to compare what I use as stabilized compared to the OM, it's not too far off. So I feel comfortable that the numbers I'm using are actually probably a little bit too conservative. I saw higher numbers even in CoStar report. So I feel we can up those a little bit if we have to. But again, I'm just keeping it like this for now. So in total, 1.11 cents per square feet as opposed to 1.22, and overall on average a $95 increase across the units. What else? So one thing I want to note here is so the broker suggested a few additional ways to make additional revenues. I think one is parking spots, reserved parking spots. The other one was, I think there are some units that have a yard attached where we could get a premium. I did not factor those in. So those are all additions that we can, if we want, we can include. What else is here too?
Can I mention too, just on parking spots, so people notice, this has only 100 spots for 75 apartments. So it's 1.3 per apartment. So preferred parking may be a big value since it's tight.
Yeah, and it's spread out. The properties, I think, divided by a street. So I don't know how the parking spots shake out, but yeah, if somebody has to park across the street, I'm sure they would be willing to pay to be closer to the unit. Okay.
Hey, Bastian, is Annie here?
Yes.
The current max, the F column, the one that you took from the rent rolls.
Yeah.
That one, for the 16 unit, 2 bedroom, 1 bath, is 1,200, not 1,100. Yeah, that
Okay.
one.
Well, that's what I did based on the rent roll. So yeah,
So if because like whatever in the OM is higher than the whatever is
no, that's not. All right, Annie, this is not OM. This is all of the rent rolls. These are the max rents.
I know, because I took this number from the rent rolls, and then like for your stabilized result, stabilized rent here, actually you took it from the OM. The OM is more, the rent is higher than what is shown in the rent rolls. So I think that it's better to take whatever in the rent rolls to be more conservative.
Okay. I'm not quite following Annie, but okay. But so anyways, for I guess for the sake of this assumption, let's just keep that.
Yeah.
And let's move over to sort of like the annual growth rates, the way I think about it. So so this is all up here. So I do not increase any market rents or other income in the first year, and then I slowly start to increase it by 2%, and then sort of 3% starting year 4 and thereafter. Vacancy. So sorry, I don't want to get you seasick here. So vacancy right now is at 8%. What I'm factoring in for the first year is 12, and then sort of slowly phasing it down to 11, 10, and 8. The CoStar report actually says that market vacancy right now is between 5 and 6%. So I think being here more on the conservative side.
Bastian, on the vacancy, the most current rent roll I see from February 1st shows a about 5.4% vacancy.
Yeah,
four
that's
vacant-
based on the unit count. Based on the
Right.
dollars, it comes
Oh,
out
you're
to
talking
8%.
about like over a period of time? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Is that,
So
is that
I
T3
actually,
or T12?
that's T3.
I see.
I actually saw in the Costa report that last year's vacancy, I have it down here. Last year's vacancy was 11%, and then in 2019 it was 25%. So they really stabilized this property. All right, going back to the assumption here. So vacancy, I have 12 and then slowly phasing down to 8. Loss to lease, I have a little higher in the first year, but then again, slowing, phasing down. Concessions and bad debt, 2 and 1. Just
So the bad
relatively close.
debt at 1%, how
Yeah.
does that compare to where we are right now?
So bad debt right now is 8%, and I don't know why it is so high. It's something,
It's,
it might be,
I almost guarantee you it's a COVID-related CDC problem. When you lease up that fast, oftentimes you're not being as selective. And I am seeing more and more properties with these kinds of COVID type bad debt on the balance sheet. So that would be my guess. So I think that that's one place that I think we need to if well, we'll need to look at the sensitivities going.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
well, and I don't know if that's, just an attempt to get these units filled as quickly as possible because they know they want to sell it. And they just get anybody in there. I don't know if that may be also a reason. I don't know. And then so in terms of renovating, so there are currently, I think, 23 units that are unrenovated. So what I assumed here is we're going to renovate about 4 units a month, starting second month. So it's going to take us about 7 months to renovate all these places and sort of slowly phase in the higher rents. Okay, switching over to expenses.
So
Again,
Bastian, so the
yes.
plan is you renovate all the rest of the units that unrenovated.
I would say so, because what we always can do is, in order to keep meat on the bone, we can do not do the reserved parking and do not do that increase for the units for the yard. I mean, I think we can always keep that back pocket if we have to.
Yeah. Plus, every 10 years, you're going to need to do a new renovation program anyway. So by the time you exit, there's probably going to be some of the original ones that were renovated early on that are ready for renovation again.
Okay, expenses. So again, to orient everybody, left is T12 currently, and then right is sort of the pro forma. So going line by line, so management fee right now, they have it at 277. I just bumped it up to 3. For legal, they had almost nothing in there. I just bumped it up to 150 a unit.
Are they
Personnel, I think,
self-managing, Bastian? Do we know?
no, they have property management. They have 1 full-time manager, 1 full-time maintenance guy, and then a part-time marketing person.
Do we know who the PM is? Because that even 3% is very low for that size property.
Okay.
When I
don't
looked at
remember.
CoStar, it had the same name for the owner and the property manager, which I thought meant, but I can ask more.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead, Bastian.
Personnel is, I think, an area where there's opportunity. Right now, they're spending, again, it's 2.5 full-time staff. So they're spending on the per unit, they're almost 1,400. I brought it down to 1,000 a unit. I just felt that was high. But again, that we need to verify that with the property manager if that's realistic or not. General admin, I brought down a little bit too. I thought it's a little high. The 267 a unit, I brought it down to 150 a unit. Marketing, they didn't have anything in there, probably because they have a part-time marketing person that probably flows all through there. But I put in a 50 a unit. Repair maintenance, I slightly bumped up, but generally I think it was okay. Turnover, I'm not quite sure what's going on there. Turnover is, in my opinion, way too high. It's about 600 a unit. I brought it down to 250, but I think that's something where we probably have to dig to understand what's in that turnover number. Contract, I generally agree, just bumped it up slightly. And I think all the utilities I kept the same. Taxes, I took that out of the OM. I still need to circle back what the tax amount is, but I think, so right now it assumes about a 30% increase in tax. I think that's conservative increase, but again, it's need to be verified.
And I did speak to someone who owns a bunch of stuff in Dallas, and they said that area is very aggressive and will hit you immediately with a tax bump.
Do you have an idea how much that could be? Are they doubling to that degree, or?
Well,
That I don't
the current owner paid 4.5 million, so their taxes should be based on that. And we're 6.2 is almost 38% higher than that, so the taxes should go up about 38%.
Okay,
That's
so
probably a safe assumption, Michael.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the other properties in Texas that I look at as well is like half of the expenses spent on taxes and insurance.
yeah,
Very high
Yeah.
taxes.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
high taxes.
so yeah, so I think what I have is, so I actually have a 48% increase in there.
Okay.
So I think
Well, then we should be
conservative
safe.
enough. Yeah. And then insurance, so I got a quote from JT, so we're at 41, slightly higher. So I'm assuming 2.5% expense growth on an annual basis. And then, so that's it for expenses. So, and I guess just to mention, so 58% right now, based on the income, the expense ratio, and right now I'm showing the same thing. Okay, now going over to, well, actually, let's go to construction budget. So I think in the OM they said on average they spend 4,800 a unit to renovate. So I'm just assuming a 55 per unit renovation, and then 23 units are left. On top of that, I'm just assuming a 10% contingency in case something is out of whack there. So that's for interior. For exterior, I just plopped in 100K. I have completely made up. I don't know exactly if that's realistic or not, if it's more or less, but just to have something in there. And then, so looking at the performance here right quick. So vacancy, so economic and physical vacancy, I'm starting off with 18 and 12, and then slowly bring it down to 10, to 11 and 8. And right now it's about 8%. So I think being conservative, knowing that the market right now is around, 5%, I guess. Net operating income, obviously increasing. I don't think anything worth mentioning here. But what I want to point out is down here on the net cash flow. So the orange dots here are our cash on cash returns, which are somewhat low. So with the 3% here and then slowly getting up to ultimately 6% on sales. So we don't even hit the preferred return, but I think we can maybe pull some levers there. And this just shows the rent increases, current versus stabilized. So I'm going to show you just the annual P&L, and then we can play around with sensitivity if you need to. So again here, so this column is the T12/T3, and then here over here are the projections from 1 to 5. Yeah, so what stands out in the income section is definitely the bad debt right now with 8.2. Need to probably learn more about that. See, and then so I guess expense ratio, if you look here, starting out at 58 and then adopting that with 59 and then slowly phasing it down to 55, which I even think 59% is probably a little high even. I think we can probably reduce that a little bit, particularly knowing, if I go back to the expenses right now, we would operate that place at 7,000 a unit a year, which I think is high. I think probably having somewhere in the 6,000 is probably doable. But again, not knowing the market too well, I'm not sure. So going to the sensitivity here. Let me just look at this, right? So just want to show you a few things how numbers are shaking out. So here, that's sort of the IRR based on holding period and based on exit cap. So right now we're sitting right here with a 5.6 exit at a 5-year holding. So, you know, we could even play around with the holding period, like selling it after 4 years, which actually gives us a higher IRR. But overall, I think the takeaway from sort of this table is that, you know, we have a pretty wide range between to stay profitable, I guess. It will never drop below our, it will never drop negative into negative IRR territory. So we have a pretty wide spread here. And even if you look down here, so what that shows is how our NOI is performing at exit. So right now, if I'm assuming we are actually 8%, or our NOI is 8% lower at exit than what I'm assuming right now. Given our current exit cap rate, we're at 13%. So even that is a pretty respectable, I think, exit or IRR number, worst case hitting. So, and then just here, I think that gives us an idea on essentially purchase price. So this shows you again, these are all IRR tables, and again, project IRR, not the LP IRR. Gives you the hold period over the purchase price. So right now we are sitting, I think, here at the 1643. So if we go down, if we make our offer lower, still staying in the 5-year hold period, you know, if you're just dropping it by 100K, or even, as Trevor said, as long as there's a 6 somewhere in there in the offer price, even dropping it down to about 6,045,000, we are at 18% IRR. So I think it's shaking out pretty well. It's performing pretty well. It's pretty stable. Yeah, that's sort of what I have. I don't know. Any thoughts? Any reactions? I'm still trying. The numbers almost look too good to be true. I'm trying to find red flags or trying to find something that just doesn't, that I messed up, I guess, at the end of the day. So I'm not sure. Any reactions?
Is there a like vacancy number, a break-even vacancy number in this model, Pastor?
Yeah. So we are 91% for the first year, which is probably a little high. Would be better if it's a little slower.
And so right now they're setting at between economic vacancy and physical vacancy, they may be already below that number, is what just my gut feeling tells me.
So here, this line here, so this is the annual P&L. This is the physical vacancy, and this is the economic vacancy. The way I calculate economic vacancy, it takes into consideration physical vacancy as well.
So it's a
So
total
right now
number?
they're sitting. Sorry?
It's a total number?
It's a total vacancy number, yeah.
Okay, all right.
So they're sitting at 19 right now, and I'm slowly phasing it down from 18 to 11 is essentially.
Okay, so if they're at 19 right now, that means going in, we're going to be at 19 also. And so the question is, that's underwater. You're having to make up money every month. And so the question is, how much money do we need to raise to cover that for how long? So how long before we get above 91%? So we've got to raise that number by basically 10, 11%. And it may take us, just for the sake of argument, you said you did factor in 1 year of P&I into a capital raise in this model?
Yeah.
And we may need that just to cover the bad debt for that first year. So technically it's factored in.
Yeah.
Okay. And based on your numbers, what is the equity multiple? Does this model show an equity multiple?
So equity multiple on the project level is 2, and on an LP level, it's 1.9.
And that's on a 5-year hold?
5-year hold, yeah.
And what was it on a 4-year hold? Can you just change from 4 to 5 and it'll calculate everything?
Yep. So we are 1.9 for project level and then 1.7 on LP level.
Okay. And did someone say they confirmed with, or first off, who is this loan with? What organization?
Let me see if I can pull this up.
What all the document says. The footnote says something about Fannie Mae, but as far as like the actual,
Yeah.
I don't think it tells.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't see the lender either.
All right. Well, we may need to, so where's the, let's see, did you have in, what'd you have for loan assumption fee?
1% of the loan balance, so 45K.
Okay. Potentially, if you put that at 2%, how much does it change the numbers?
Not much.
Okay. So what other questions does anyone have? Michael and Davi, does this look close to what you guys have, or you guys pretty different from this?
I think it's pretty close. I have a question, Bastian, on the market rent. Did you use the max rent? Is that what you used?
No, I'm using, so I'm using, what I'm using is sort of like a hybrid between OM, what's currently being charged, and what I'm seeing based on comps that I pulled myself from apartments.com.
And
Okay.
also the OM, Davi. So he has the OM rents in column L.
So that's OM.
And right. And the only thing I didn't see, he didn't really model in his the stuff that he's seen on apartments.com. But he's doing that kind of between the three of those things, he's arriving at column J,
Yeah.
what he
But
thinks.
by
I-
seeing that max rent, my guess is they try to push rent too far, and now they're experiencing this vacancy. That's my guess.
Well, vacancy is pretty good. I mean, they're at 5% vacancy. So I don't think vacancy is a concern.
Oh, it's 5? I thought it was higher.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at the bad debt, guys. I just have a really, and they haven't owned it that long. And also the fact that their lease up budget, what was the number, Davi, on, Bastian, on the personnel?
The expenses, you mean?
Yeah,
So here.
yeah.
So it's,
So,
yeah.
yeah, based on that number also, my guess is that they had 2 or 3 people in the office doing lease up, trying to get lease up as quickly as possible. And probably got a little bit fast and loose with the qualifications, maybe lowered the qualification from a 3 times rent to a 2.5 times rent. Maybe didn't do as good a job at looking at particular, and it would have made sense. I mean, if they did most of this lease up, in 2019 and early 2020, would have probably not really been paying very close attention to COVID and COVID sensitive jobs, thinking that this is going to, blow over. Most everyone that I was talking to during the first quarter, especially, thought that this was just going to blow over, it'd be done in, several months, and by summer we'd be back to normal. And so that's what, reading between the lines, that's what I'm seeing. And so because of that, I think that that first year is going to continue to be a problem trying to get those people out, because until the courts start to get a little more lenient and allowing you to kick people out, then it's going to be tough to get them out. You know, you can, there's a lot of other strategies, but then probably the number one strategy is there is a program called TED-P in Texas, but it expires in March. And if they, so that would be a key question to ask the broker. Have they applied for the TED-P program, and are they going to turn that money over? Because it allows for 6 months of unpaid rent to go back to the apartment owner. And there's no, if they haven't applied for it, then that's a strategy, but we'd have to figure out how to do it before it expires, which I don't know if it's expiring March 1st or March 30th or 31st. And if that's not the case, then your next best strategy is you're going to have to, I don't know that you can actually reduce the personnel number, because you're going to have to watch everyone like a hawk and look for lease violations, because they'll still allow you to kick people out for lease violations, but they will not allow you to evict them. And so it becomes labor intensive. And also, if you do not get to take advantage of the TED-P program, you're going to need extra personnel to literally every day. You need to be having these people on a conversation, finding out how you can help them get money or get a job or get out. You know, so you need to be reaching out to all the local charities on their behalf. You cannot leave it up to them, because if you do, they're just not going to pay. They're already proving that. You know, they're not going to make the extra effort. And so that number may not be able to come down. But I like the size of the property. I like where it's at. I like Hurst. You know, but we're basically, I don't think you need to put a pref in this model. What's the splits, Bastian, that you used?
I'm using 30/70.
Okay. And was there an acquisition fee and an asset management fee both?
Yep, 1% and 1%.
Okay. All right. And no refinance in this model, no other fees for refinance fees or anything like that, capital event
No,
fees.
no
Okay.
no supplemental loans, no nothing.
Okay.
Quick point. Annie just mentioned to me that when she did hers, it came out to a negative cash flow. So I don't know.
So here's what we need to do. We need to create a file. Are you guys comfortable downloading all of your underwriting and everything that you have onto the platform, or do you want to create a separate drive?
Mine is already on there, so.
Okay. So has Annie, have you already uploaded yours onto the platform?
I just finished it before our meeting.
Okay. Well, go ahead and upload yours onto the platform. Michael and Davida, if you guys can, and let's see if we can, if you guys have a time to look them over. And then if you want, we could reconvene. I don't know what your schedules are like. Right now, I have several 30-minute spots in between calls today that I could try to truncate, shut my mouth early in some of my calls and maybe get back on later in the day if you guys want, or even whatever makes sense. I don't know what everyone's schedules look like.
Well, don't you think we still need somebody to get the property management side of this talked about? I think Trevor was going to talk to a property manager and kind of go over
so
everything.
JT from insurance gave me a lead. I have not, I just got it like as soon as this call started, have not reached out to them.
Who is that, Trevor?
He sent up, sorry, let me just find it here.
Excuse me, guys. My apologies.
'Cause,
He sent up.
yeah, so JT from insurance gave me a lead. I have not, I just got it like as soon as this call started, have not reached out to them.
Who is that, Trevor?
He It was Fairmount Management Company, Brett Lusky.
It would be great if they managed at least a couple properties in that area.
Yeah,
I can
don't
reach
know
out to
Because
them.
just as an overview, I was looking at the schools assigned to that property, and they're all good.
What's that, Davi? You looked at what?
The schools
Oh, okay. Yeah.
are good. There are good schools around, and the income is actually 53,000. So it supports this property easily. I think from an overview, it looks good, but a PM that is familiar with the area will be key.
Yeah, and I asked a couple of people. So JT Lynch, he said it's a good area. And then I asked Sandia. She gave me a management company, but said that they wouldn't work on pre-budgets at this time. I don't know.
Who is that?
Let me just find our chat. Sorry. She went sort of quiet and I left her alone because I know she was dealing with insurance claims. Sorry. Sunridge. That's who's
Okay.
been managing her properties. They're a little bigger, the properties.
All right. And I'm sorry, what was the first one? I didn't write it down.
It was Fairmount Management Company.
Okay. I have several others that I can reach out to. So let me, and you said which one was not doing, is it Sunridge is not doing a pro forma?
Her answer was, they will only do it when we have an LOI accepted.
Okay. All right.
Bastian, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
You're saying that the prepayment penalty is some sort of, how do you know what it is? You said it's easily calculatable. How do you know what it was at the beginning? I don't see that information anywhere, and I guess I just don't know what I'm looking for.
So let me show you. I calculated it. Let me pull it up.
Did you go on to, is this a Fannie or I'm assuming it's a Fannie, but is it Fannie or Freddie?
Fannie, yeah.
Do you know?
It says Fannie Mae on the paperwork at the bottom of the page.
Yeah, so somewhere on the internet should be the standard step downs on a 12-year for Fannie.
Oh, I see.
But how did you calculate it, Bastian? Did you get the step downs or did you do it some other way?
Can you see my screen here with these two
Yep.
yellow?
Yep.
Okay. So it's very like ballpark calculation. So it's not like 100% science, right? But so there were a total of 138 months.
Yep.
Today, 30 passed. So we have 108 months remaining on the loan. And then it's just a simple present value calculation where you take so 519 is the loan interest.
Wait a second. It's 144 months total. 100.
But I think, yeah, but I think if you go into and maybe I misread it.
No, it does say yield maintenance period term of 138 months. Is that
exactly?
So you only go by that?
Yeah, because after that, there is no yield maintenance.
Oh, I see. For the last 6 months. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Just making sure I understand. Okay.
Yeah, and then it's actually just a present value calculation where you take the current interest of 519 over the remaining month, knowing the interest payment of about 18K gets you to pretty close was what Julie said. She said 1.5. I mean, mine comes out rounded to 1.6 million. And then you can do the same. Sorry?
What is where it says up at the row 5, starting balance 5, where's that number come from?
Good question.
Because the loan paperwork just shows a $4.5 million loan.
Yeah, well, I rolled the yield maintenance into that.
To us purchasing it.
Yeah. So this is the scenario, the yield maintenance scenario. That's not what I just went over. This is the other one where it comes out to
yeah. Right,
to
right.
9 IRR down here.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
My overall question on bringing this up is there a point, if we're going to hold it for 5 years or whatever, is there a point during that time where it becomes more beneficial to refinance to a much lower interest rate?
well, there's probably the opportunity I'm guessing that that's definitely an option, but it probably will not be until you get 5 or 6 years into the existing loan. So this one, they are what, 2 years into it right now?
2.5.
Okay, so probably 4 more years would be my guess. If I had, I'm see if I can find the loan step down chart online. Let's see here.
And while you pull this up, Jim, just what I just did is I assumed, okay, if we have 3 years left on the loan, that would come out to about 600K yield maintenance. So I guess if we sell the property after whatever, 3, 4, 5 years, I mean, that would potentially be the yield maintenance for the new buyer.
I see. Okay. Thank you for that explanation.
And also,
again, ballpark,
there's probably a chance for us to do a supplemental in this loan. So that's, another way for us to pull equity out without having to refinance it. If we can't refinance it, we could still pull equity out of it. And this loan in 4 years might not look too bad, guys, for somebody else that needs to assume it.
Yeah.
It doesn't look good today, but it might look good in 3 years.
Yeah, well, I'd say it's definitely looking better every month. Bastian, I know Davide's numbers. He was showing that he thinks the debt coverage ratio, once the interest only period ends here in a few months, is not going to be very good. What are you showing on that?
All right, let me move over to my other model.
It's probably going to be negative based upon what I'm seeing. That's why we need to have that first year covered.
So I'm actually, where am I? I'm here. I'm okay. I'm 1.3 in the first year and then going up from there.
Okay. That's about what I had. Davide's was.
Yeah, the first year
lower
is
as well.
real low. I got 1.1 in year one, and then goes up to 1.4, 1.6 on the subsequent years.
Okay, just curious. I really think that we don't need to reconvene until we get some property management answers. What's everybody's opinion on that?
I agree.
Yeah, I agree too. I would love to get an opinion on the expenses, how much it is to run that a property like that in that area.
All right, I'll try to get that. I don't know how long it's going to take, but let me reach out to a couple of people this morning and see what we can get.
Yeah, because there's no rush on this. There's not even a call for offers or anything. That's what the broker told you, Trevor?
That's correct, that because of the storm, they delayed it. And then just to let everybody know, if needed, I could go this Thursday to look at it, or next week, any day pretty well. I can make it happen.
I think that we definitely want to set that up.
Yeah, okay, so I'll try to go see it this Thursday then.
All right, guys, any other questions?
That's beautiful.
I just have questions about the utilities.
About what?
When about the utilities, electricity, gas, and trash and water, sure. So when I add up all this number, it costs like $2,000 per unit. Is that normal? I'm sorry, I just trying to understand over here.
I mean, it's higher than the assumption that I use, but I mean, ultimately they have RUBS. So I mean, we get a sliver back of that.
RUBS only 60 or 70%. Which
I think we can probably up that a little bit over time. I think what I hear, like people doing like 85% of that, getting 85% of that back. But I mean, I don't know.
Well, they're currently showing 95% RUBS on electricity, 75% on water and sewer, 95% on gas. So I bet they're maxed out on those things.
Okay.
Anything
it's
else?
hot down there, right?
Yeah.
So they use a lot of
And the only
electricity.
other thing to consider on an upgrade is it worth doing water conservation? Because if you look, the water bill is pretty high. And then, you know, leaving not doing the additional units, leaving that as meat on the bone, especially if we're looking at a 4-year get out, but maybe do the water.
That's a really good point. I forgot about water
Mhm.
conservation. Yeah, those guys
Mhm.
usually have a really good estimate, you know, pretty close estimate of what that's going to save you.
How much is that on average? Can like ballpark, like can be half that number, or what is, how much does it usually move the needle?
Like 30-something%.
Yeah.
I don't know, or the numbers that I've seen before.
Yeah, it depends on the property. The bigger the property, the more common areas. And particularly if you've got an older property where nothing has been upgraded, then if they didn't upgrade toilets at all, then it can be a substantial number. This is individual HVAC, right? Or is it a chiller?
Not positive.
And
It's 2 chillers,
it's 2 chillers?
2
Okay.
electric 2-pipe chillers.
Okay, so that's probably one of the reasons why your water number is so high. And that's also on an older property like this, usually a much higher maintenance item. And we, because of the age, probably need to confirm what the breaker panels are, and if this was an aluminum wired property originally, and what was the mitigation that they used, because there's definitely better and worse ways to mitigate that issue.
Yeah, the wiring question, great question. I don't see the answer right away, so I have to try to find that.
Okay, guys, I've got another call I've got to jump on. So we'll stay in touch. And Annie, if you can get your underwriting uploaded so that everyone can compare,
Yes.
and we'll see where we go.
Yep. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, everyone.
Excellent.
Thanks,
Thank
Jim.
you.
Thanks, everybody.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, Bastian.
Yep. Bye.